All right, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into Biohack.
Oh, this is going to be good.
It's a techno thriller a listener sent in, and let me tell you, it's a wild one.
Right up our alley, then.
Totally. We're talking Vatican heists, designer babies, the whole shebang.
You get the good stuff, huh?
Well, this listener had some great questions about how the fiction connects with reality, and, well, I had to bring in an expert to help us unpack it all.
Happy to be here. I have to say, this kind of story, it's fascinating how it takes all our anxieties about technology, and just pushes them to the limit. It's like that funhouse mirror thing, but with real-world worries.
Exactly. And it starts out with this high-stakes heist at the Vatican, no less.
No less, yeah.
They're after bones, DNA, the whole nine yards. It's like Dan Brown meets CSI.
And this is one of those stories that just sort of pulls you in.
It does.
It really does. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got mystery. It's got action. It's got intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
It really does make you question the direction we're headed as a society. We hear about art heists all the time, historical stuff going missing. But could DNA be the new black market treasure?
Whoa.
And it gets even wilder, right? Because DNA theft is already a thing.
Yeah.
And not just for, like, celebrities or whatever.
Really? Wait, so someone could steal MY-DNA. What would they even DO with it?
Okay, so there have been cases of people stealing DNA to mess with, like paternity disputes.
Oh, wow.
Or even to try and get into someone's medical records, totally compromise their privacy. It's a scary thought, that something so personal could be used against us.
Okay, that's giving me chills. And it takes that fear and just explodes it. We're not even just talking about stealing DNA anymore. We're talking manipulating it.
Oh, yeah.
Enter Birthrights Unlimited. This company, they claim they can craft your perfect child. Not even just screening for diseases. They're talking about straight up enhancing desirable traits. Like, there's this scene with genetically engineered kids singing in perfect harmony. Creepy. Or the future, right?
Definitely pushing the boundaries there. Gene editing tech, like CRISPR, it's real. Right now, the focus is mostly on serious genetic diseases. But the ethical questions this story brings up, we're already wrestling with them. If we could erase a gene for, say, a debilitating illness, would we? Should we? What about the traits that aren't so much life or death, but more like giving a kid an advantage? Where do you draw the line?
And then who gets to decide what's even considered desirable?
Exactly. The story takes those anxieties to the extreme, but it makes you think, are we really heading towards a world where parents are picking their kids' features like a menu? And then what does that even mean for individuality? Acceptance gets to the core of what makes us who we are. And that brings us to Kaden, the protagonist. She finds out she's adopted and obviously sets out to find her birth parents. But here's the thing.
Her entire life might be a lie, orchestrated by this birthrights company. It's like that universal need we all have to know where we come from, but amplified by a million.
It's interesting you say that.
Yeah.
Because Kaden's journey, fictional as it is, it mirrors something happening more and more.
Oh.
Genetic testing. It's getting more common all the time. And with that, the potential for some seriously shocking discoveries.
Like what?
People are finding out they have siblings they never knew about, or that surprise, their parents aren't who they thought they were.
Whoa.
So it's not just some plot device, right? It's a real fear people have that a DNA test could rewrite their entire life story.
Wow.
And for Kaden, it throws everything she thought she knew about herself up in the air.
Yeah.
The story makes you ask, what happens when everything you believe about yourself just crumbles?
And it's not just about rewriting the past, right? Biohack takes us down a whole other rabbit hole with this whole Internet of Things thing.
Yeah.
Like there's this scene where they're talking about how everything is connected.
Oh, I know, right?
From your fridge to your, fitness tracker.
Yeah.
And it's all collecting data. It's ripped straight from the headlines,
Totally.
But is it really that easy to track people in real life?
That's what Biohack does so well. It takes those everyday anxieties we have and just turns them up.
Right.
Way up.
Right.
We've all seen those ads that feel a little too personal, like, how did they know I was looking at that?
Oh, tell me about it.
But it suggests a future where our data, especially the genetic stuff, it's not just about selling us things anymore. It's about control. Who has it? Who's making money off it? And what happens when it gets into the wrong hands?
Okay, now we're getting to some, Black Mirror territory.
But the thing is, there's some truth to it, Think about it. Companies already track tons of stuff about us. What we do online, what we buy, even where you go.
True.
And then we just hand over even more without even thinking about it through social media, those health apps, all those DNA testing kits everyone's obsessed with?
So we're kind of already playing in this data game without even realizing it.
Exactly. And that's what makes Caden's story so eerie. It's not just about messing with genes or stealing DNA. It's about power, plain and simple.
And Biohack does not shy away from the dark side of that, right?
Not at all.
We see how this company, Birthrights Unlimited, they seem all nice and friendly on the surface.
Right, the perfect family, the whole deal.
But behind it all, bankrolled by this shadowy figure with a much more sinister agenda. Classic thriller stuff.
Oh, for sure. It's like that old saying, the road to hell is paved with. Well, you know.
Good intentions.
Exactly. Except in this case, it's paved with stolen DNA and CRISPR tech. And speaking of which, the whole thing culminates in this epic showdown at Birthrights Unlimited. It's like everything comes crashing down.
And they don't let you off easy with a happy ending or anything?
Not really, no. The author seems to be holding up a mirror to our obsession with progress, with science, and asking, at what cost? Are we so desperate to cure diseases, to make ourselves better, that we're willing to just overlook the consequences?
Right.
It's not just entertainment. It's a warning disguised as a thriller. It forces us to look at these uncomfortable questions head on and ask ourselves, what role do we want to play in all this?
It's easy to feel kind of powerless, you know?
Yeah.
With all this technology advancing so fast.
I get that. But you're right, we do have a choice. We can choose to be informed, to ask questions, to demand transparency from the people in charge of the companies, whoever, but we have to actually do it.
Not just like blindly accept the next shiny new thing.
Exactly. Caden's whole journey to find her identity is like a metaphor for all of us.
Okay, how so?
We're all searching for answers, trying to figure out who we are in this crazy world of information overload. It's a reminder to stay alert, think critically, and to never stop questioning.
Question everything.
Everything.
It's like, what is it about these big names that we get so obsessed with? Is it their talent? Or is it something deeper? Like in Biohack, they're after that, something deeper.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to bottle it up, like some magic potion.
Exactly. They're stealing DNA from dead celebrities, historical figures, talking about creating a market for designer genes. Like, pay us enough and your kid could be the next Einstein or something.
Wild, right? And, you know, we see this playing out already. In a way, this fascination with celebrity DNA. I mean, remember a few years back, people were buying strands of Elvis's hair online for ridiculous amounts. It's like this need to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Totally. And Biohack takes that idea and just runs with it to a scary place. But here's the thing that gets me. Even if you could do that, isolate the genius gene or whatever, wouldn't that cheapen it somehow?
Right. What makes a Mozart or a Marie Curie? Is it just their DNA, or is it their environment, their experiences, all of it combined? That's what the story seems to be saying.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just reduce someone to their genes. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, trying to make a copy of a painting but only using one color.
Exactly. You lose the essence of the whole thing. And that's what makes Caden's story so interesting. She's struggling with this idea of destiny versus free will, you know? Like, is her path already written in her DNA, or does she have a say in who she becomes? It's a pretty universal question when you think about it.
Definitely. We all want to know where we come from, what makes us tick. But like Caden finds out, the answers aren't always clear-cut. And sometimes they lead to even bigger questions, especially in a world where we can just like peek behind the curtain of our own DNA.
So true. Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into Biohack, any final thoughts? It's been a wild ride, this whole story, but it's also been incredibly thought-provoking.
It makes you question the limits of technology, the ethics of genetic engineering, the power of individual action.
It shows that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one person can make a difference.
And it reminds us that we all have a responsibility to stand up for what's right, to fight for justice, to protect the vulnerable.
That's a powerful message, and one that we all need to hear.
Absolutely. We can't just sit back and let things happen. We have to be active participants in shaping our future.
Well said. Biohack. Well, that concludes our deep dive into the world of Birthrights Unlimited, a story of ambition, greed, and the struggle for control.
A story that reminds us that the choices we make today have the power to shape the world of tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it as eye-opening as we did. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep fighting for a better future.